So how was boot camp? What was that like?
So boot camp was different. I was not used to people yelling in my face and stuff. I actually, I still keep in contact with one of my drill instructors. He's the first sergeant now. But the funny thing is I actually was in boot camp for 5 months instead of 3. So I did not know how to shoot a rifle. So I unked, unqualified. So they send you back to the beginning of second phase, and I was distraught. I was distraught. So instead of graduating, I think it was supposed to be like October. I ended up graduating in December.
So,
and you want to know the irony? And I'll tell you the irony about that story is I became a marksmanship instructor in the Marine Corps. And then I worked on several ranges through my career. I worked one as a Lance Corporal, I worked one as a Corporal, and then I worked one as a Staff Sergeant Select. So it's super ironic to have, not been able to shoot. I unked in boot camp, mastered the fundamentals, and then I became an instructor.
Yeah, but you never shot a gun before. I mean,
correct.
Even you grew up in DC, but you were doing stuff, but you probably never held a gun before.
I held a gun, but I never shot it.
Right. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And so, it took you a while, but you came around.
Correct. Yeah.
So you go through boot camp. Let's talk about boot camp for a little bit. People don't know. I mean, I have heard all my stories of boot camp in the Marines is old school. I mean, somebody talks out of line, you get head-butted, head cracks open. You say, they asked my stepdad, you say something, nothing, sir. I mean, it's not like that now because you got liability, right?
I'll tell you it's not like that. So I'm in the verge of where like things started changing. So luckily I was blessed because I was like the last like little sprinkle of like what's considered the old core. We really didn't get, head-butted and stuff, but I will tell you there are some things that if some people would have found out, they would have been relieved of duty. But I mean, I think it's part of being a Marine. I think it's part of the discipline in the Marine Corps. I'm super against, Mothers of America and all of these civilian entities that are involved in the military, when in reality, like the military should stay in its own lane and be, directed in its own path. So, but boot camp was unique. It'll never leave me as a person. Right.
So you finish boot camp, you go back to school, you're strutting a little bit, really, it's fun. It's great. It's a sense of gratitude. You've gone through the gauntlet, the first gauntlet, right? So now where do you go from there?
So I went to California. So I Camp Pendleton. So I went to Camp Pendleton, which is about an hour from San Diego. Yeah. And I'll tell you, you know what, Michael, it's like a lot of people, for some reason, they saw something in me because a lot of people through my life, you say like, oh, I did this on my own. But in reality, like there was a lot of influence in my career. So what happened was I checked in, private first class. And there was like 6 of us, and they had a unit that could take 3, and you had a unit that could take 2, and then there was a unit that could take 1. And what happened was, all of them were friends. I was on my own. Like I knew them, but we really weren't that close. They didn't want to get separated. And the gunnery sergeant was like, all right, I got a space for 1. Like who wants to go on their own? And we all like looked around. And finally, man, I just wanted to get out of there. I was like, hey, gunnery sergeant, like I'll go, And he told me, and I was like a 17-year-old kid, man. He was like, you're going to excel in the Marine Corps, Marine. I didn't know what that meant, man, that vocabulary. I thought excel, like, the little word perfect. They sent me to my first unit. So it was unique. I had the opportunity to do a lot of jobs. I went to a lot of different units. The other uniqueness was I was not an academic kid. I actually had an ASVAB waiver to come into the Marine Corps. Not because I was dumb or anything. It's just I've never been a really good test taker. Couldn't pass the ASVAB. I kept missing it by a couple points. And finally, there was one waiver for an ASVAB waiver, and I had to fight for it with other kids, and I had to go on a board, which is crazy because I was a civilian. I had to talk to the sergeant major. I had to talk to the CO. Like, I had to explain to them why I deserve the waiver. And I'm like, man, like, I can't pass the test, man. Like, I don't really have an answer for you. So It's been adversity, and adversity through adversity. So I left Pendleton, and then I went to 29 Palms. For 6 years, which is actually my home. So any Marine that, or civilian that likes to talk smack about 29 Palms, don't do it, because that's my home. You will never find a camaraderie and uniqueness of being stationed in the middle of nowhere.